A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 22nd October. It's a new week, new day, and I'm sure you all have enjoyed your weekend. Let's start our discussion today. We have 4 important articles to go through. The first one is avoidable tragedy. Now let's do a wake up exercise, right? Can you give me the answer of this question, that what this particular article is all about, this avoidable tragedy? Take a guess and post your guess in the comment section of this video, and then we can crack on. So I believe all of you have paused this video for a second or something, and you have answered the question, and now we are moving ahead. It's about this Joda Fatak case. Right now we have talked about SOP, that is standard operating procedure. I'm sure you remember this thing. A couple of days ago we have talked about this thing, and I told you that the basic thing that we are lacking here is we have all the things, right? When it comes to our books, we have each and everything, small details are covered in our rule book, but when it comes to implementation, we don't have this thing, and this is one of the main problem, one of the biggest hurdle in our country, that we have rules and regulations but we are not implementing it. So we know what is required, but when it comes to taking a sort of action on things that are required, then we are not doing it. And it is something that is visible in each and everything that we do, when we are driving, when we are constructing our office area, when we are climbing stairs, or you can observe this thing in each everything we do, right? Firecracker factories, we find news every year. Diwali is just around the corner, and we are going to I'm sure sorry, I don't want to see this thing, God forbid, but unfortunately this is something that we find every year. It's not necessary that you will find it in the Hindu newspaper, but you can also go through your local newspapers, right? You will find that either some firecracker shopkeeper or shops, they will catch fire. Now you have rules and regulations for firecracker shops as well, that you have to keep this what do we say, this fire extinguisher. But when we find a fire, hardly people will know how to use that thing. No one reads whether, when I say no one, I mean to say that majority of people, right, we don't read how to operate. We are not trained for this thing, how to operate, and on which particular item you need to use it. You can visit many petrol pumps. You will find that things are now a little bit improved, but still, in many places you don't find this sort of things, because there is no checkup, and safety is something that we are not concerned about that much. Even today, safety or safety gears are considered as a sort of additional expense. We accident, the name itself means that we don't know when it is going to happen, but just in case, if an accident or a tragedy hits us, at least we should be as safe as possible. We should be able to mitigate the loss or the things that this accident or tragedy is going to carry with it. So that's a bit of success as well. And here you can see every time, right? You can also see this thing. You will find this pattern that will start pointing fingers towards each other. We will start, this whole action, it's quite visible. Everyone will try to save their own back. So here, Municipal Corporation in Amritsar, they are saying that we haven't issued any permission to this Ravan effigy organization, or this people who were burning this effigy. So we don't know anything about it. We were totally unaware. Now this is not a thing that is easy to digest, because that also means that you don't know what's going on in your area. It's your responsibility, right? You should be knowing what's going on. That also means that the places where you have issued these permissions, safety gears and safety features, and safe distance that you have to keep from this particular thing, what sort of firecrackers will be used, and all these things were either not calculated, or not all these things were not followed. So again, as I told you, right, we have rules and regulations, but when it comes to implementation, it is again this sab chalta hai kind of attitude. Then this is not the first case. Jodhpur 2008, something similar took place. In Chamunda Devi, something similar in the sense, sort of stampede. Was all of a sudden there was a spontaneous stampede, and 249 deaths took place back in 2008. 2017, anyone remember this Elephantstone station of Mumbai? A stampede took place, so many people died. At that point of time as well, we talked about the same things, right? Implementation, safety first or think safety is still something that is not visible or something that is not there in our culture. I think when it comes to various different industries, right, we need to have safety officers. We need to have at least one person in a factory, in a working place, who is a safety officer. Then this culture of safety, it is something that can be promoted and boosted. I strongly believe that it can be promoted and boosted by government officials, right? But for that you have to train government officials. You have to train, and I'm not just talking about IAS officers, I'm talking about each and every person should be educated when it comes to safety, particularly all those services who are managing this local administration, where they have to interact with, they have to look after civic infrastructure and other things, festivals and all these things. They need to be extra sensitive. And once they are sensitive, then before this sort of events, when organizers are approaching you for permission, then you need to ask them questions in written form, and it should be quick, but there should be things like that, like what are the things that you are doing about safety, before last minute approval as well, that when you are creating these sort of things, then proper circles are drawn, people should not cross that line and things like that. So in today's world where we have this digital technology, this sort of things are possible, but the question is, who is concerned about this sort of things? Because first of all, we have to create this culture of safety, and for that we can train our kids. At the same time, we need to train our kids, because all together new generation we can develop that will be a bit sensitive towards various different safeties and or safety standards, and then we can also have we can retrain and train our officers or government personnel. So that's everything, dear friends, in this avoidable tragedy. And now let's move on, and before moving ahead, I would like to inform all of you that our pen drive and tablet courses are available for various different exams. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from our FB page and Twitter handle. The second topic that we have is called lip service to labor rights. Again, something, a common thing or theme that we find here in this article is again that we have rules and regulations, but we don't implement them. And I'm sorry to repeat these lines, but what can I do? This is a fact here. This particular article is talking about this Gujarat case. This migrant exodus took place recently in Gujarat because of violence took place, and there was a case of harassment of a 14-year-old girl and things. So we are not going into all those things, but the thing that we can focus here is this one, that Gujarat is one of the top states in our country, of course. Right, we know that it's quite prosperous, it's quite affluent, and things are going all right with Gujarat. It's industrial state as well, and it's very natural that we find people from various different parts coming or heading towards a state that is doing quite well in terms of economy, in terms of education, in terms of other things, right? But of course, it's not a perfect state. There are many things that we have to achieve in not only in Gujarat but in different parts of our country. And this is just a small example of Gujarat, right? There are so many things. With the help of this example of Gujarat, we can learn about our country. Now we have in Gujarat, say for example, migrants are predominantly unskilled and semi-skilled laborers, right? So they are, you can expect, they don't have this negotiation power. If a person who has done PhD or a person who is highly skilled, or that person will have this negotiation power, but a person who is unskilled and semi-skilled, they don't have that much power. As we all know, it's all about number of people, right? It's all about quantity and number of hours that you can do and things like that. Now you have also this rackets going on, and in this racket what we have is a person from a particular area. That person is little bit 1%, 2%, a bit more risk taking, bit more you can say a bit more cunning, I would say, right? That's the right word that I can use. What that person will do is, that person will ask various different laborers from his or her area, and he will work as a middleman between this factory owners and these workers. So he will find job for these people, and he will take commission. And trust me, I have seen this sort of people, and it's not just a scene. This sort of people are operating where you find that they will charge every month. If they find you a job, right, every month they will take away 50% from what you're earning. So this person is making in lakhs, he or she is earning in lakhs, and the other people, they are earning just 4,000, 3,000, 5,000 rupees for nearly 12 hours or 13 hours or 14 hours of pure labor work, right? That will shatter your body in a very short period of time. This sort of exploitation is going on, and everyone is aware about this thing. And this is something that factory workers are, if they get someone is working for them for a very cheap labor, then they will give green signal to that person, that particular person. When it comes to safety gears, right, you can observe, right, we don't give these safety jackets. They are not trained properly for safety. Many a times I have seen, whilst on highway, when you have a curvy highway and people are working here, here they are working, and all of a sudden your car is heading towards them, and when you have just a few meters left, you realize that someone is working, and you take altogether a sudden turn. So all these things are a lack of safety, right? A lack of proper working condition for people. People are not paid, particularly who are working in this informal sector. They are not paid for overtime. They don't have regular working hours. They have in fact double shifts, but they get paid for single shift. Minimum wage standards are not followed, right? Regular wage payment is also many times not seen. Many times you find this sort of cases as well, where just food is given to people, right, for the work they are doing. So still, I can easily term this thing, right, I take it as, or I see it as modern day slavery, right? Simple as that. It's modern day slavery. That's what we find that's going on. And in fact, if you go through rules and regulations like Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, then a state that is receiving these migrants, that state has to keep a record, and a state from where people are migrating, right, from one place from your state, if they are coming to my state, then your state needs to keep an eye on this thing. Your state people, or this organization or the government, it has to keep an eye, as well as regular reports about the health and about this living condition and what people are doing in your state and things like that. But we don't have this sort of reports. And in Gujarat as well, you find that there are informal figures that 40 to 1 crore people have migrated to Gujarat, but there is no official data on this thing. So it's sad. If you don't know what's going on, then how you can solve the problems? That's a very simple or basic or logical thing. So again, I would not like to, but what can I do? If you go through this article, you will find yourself that rule books, right? If we have them, then we need to use them as well. And fair and equal deal for all is something that we need. Back in 1990s, Gujarat came out with this law that 85% of jobs will be given to local people and 15% will be given to migrants. This is something that is not acceptable at all. The thing is, if you are, right, using technology from different parts of the world, if you are using technology or raw material that is coming from Maharashtra or some other places, and again, this is just a small example of Gujarat, I'm talking about each and every state of our country here. You cannot come out with this sort of restrictions. You should in fact work like a manager rather than an administrator. Administrator is one who will throw rules and regulation. A person or a system that is more bossy, right, that will give you orders from top to down. Orders are coming. But when we say about management, we are talking about a proper system where people are ready to learn from each other. Government is providing all these platforms, and it is providing you this environment where you can achieve your 100%. So rather than 85% rule, right, government should promote more, I would say, the best men or the best women for the job sort of thing, follow this HR policy. And if we are trying to produce items, whenever we market this thing, this is the last point that I would like to discuss here, that we keep on telling this thing that we have cheap labor here in our country, so come make in India. Yes, it's fine, But you have cheap labor because you are asking your people to work for, or you have created a system where different products are cheap because they are created by violating all those rules and regulations that are followed by countries like Germany and UK. So if their products are a bit expensive, it is because they are treating their people, fairly. They are not cheating with them. So this is a thing that we should be concerned about. Moving on, the next item is this pilgrimage progress. It's about this change that we see in our in our customs, in our social life, as well as in our history of religion. If we go through religion and practices and things like that, we find there has always been a little bit of change, as per time. Observe each and every religion, you will find this thing, right? You will find a little bit of changes as per time. Changes in the sense the way people are observing or the way people are following a particular religion. Like if we talk about this Sabrimala temple, then we find that back in 50s, right, women had freely entered the shrine before 1950 for the first rice feeding ceremonies of their children. So this was quite visible, but now things have changed. And this particular article, I believe, we find it because again we find some sort of protests are going on in this Sabrimala temple even after Supreme Court's verdict. Last time we talked about it, we talked about this thing that it's a law of the land now. So at least we have to respect the law. Best solution is people, stakeholders particularly, they have to act sensibly, and they should avoid any sort of confrontation at this point of time. Now, if we go through historians like E.J. Hobsbawm and Terence Ranger, they coined the term the invention of tradition. And what they are arguing is that as the time passes, as we move ahead in life, or as a society moves ahead, we find there are some little bit of tweaks and changes in the way we practice our religion. There was a time in 1960s. This writer is talking about this time when she is saying that people used to follow this strict rules and regulations for visiting this Ayyappa temple. I'm not saying written words or written rules and regulations. It was about following celibacy and not smoking and drinking and not doing all those things that are generally speaking considered bad. And there used to be there used to be this 41-day ritual, but now we find that this ritual is not that much followed. So there are so many things, right? Those things have changed as per time. So we have to think about this thing as well, like menstruation. It could be a thing that back in past we were not having this sort of sanitary pads and healthy safety standards at that point of time, but now we have all this latest technologies and these products, the sanitary pads. So things have improved in terms of medical, in terms of hygiene. And so now we have to ask, do we really need to ban this woman or not? But again, we are not passing our judgment here. What we are is asking is both the sides, right, should come on this table, right? We have this law of the land, so that is a thing that we have to follow. We cannot say no to it. But law is one thing and society is one thing. So society has to support this thing. Or whether it should or should not, it all depends on this meeting between sensible people from both the sides. So I hope things are clear. In short, as per time, we need to change our system or our religious practices. And then we have this time to hew a new antiquities law. It's about archaeology, it's about historians, it is about collecting antiques, right, antique items. Now, what happens in our country is that most of the items are owned by government, and if you are a collector, or if you are a collector, not this collector, administrative collector, I'm talking about if you are collecting this antiques, or if you are into this anthropology, or if you are into this, if you are a historians, and that people have this passion of collecting various different items. And what happens if they are found? Then if you are a historian, then there are high chances that in our country you'll be blamed for stealing a thing from a particular place, and it will become nearly impossible for you to prove, even if you're right, because there is a lengthy process. You have to register your antique item with the government agency. It will take time. They will analyze, so it will take a bit of time. So that's tiring, as well as that's not healthy too. Healthy in this in the sense, in terms of this system, right? It's not healthy. Now, our country, as you know, it's one of the oldest civilizations. So, of course, every single day we find something in something, in various different parts of our country. So we need to promote this culture, and history helps a lot. Now, if you go through NCERTs of 6th standard and 7th standard, you find these differences are given between historian and archaeologists and, different branches. They have to work with each other in synergy. It is very important, and once if you want to rule, when I say rule, I mean to say if you want to take your country or nation to a good height, then you have to go through your past as well. It will give you a sense of direction. It will give you a sense of culture as well. Everything that we do, or everything, the type of house that we live in, the type of clothes that we wear, everything has a touch of history, has a touch of geography, right? The food we consume, it all depends on history and geography of the place or region in which we are living. So this is the importance, and it is very important for all of us to know, and to know the right history of our country. And for that we have to promote curators, anthropologists, historians, this literatures, and we have to promote this archaeological excavation. But our acts are outdated. This Antiques and Art Treasures Act 1972, it's been there for ages. We haven't amended it. On website of Ministry of Culture, we find that very soon this thing will be amended, but still no status or no update is available on this thing. And as I told you, right, you have this vigilance, and you have this public shaming and blaming people if they have something old or antique, if they are possessing something. So not every case is about stealing or sort of robbery. There are people out there, right, private players, they are genuinely interested, and they are the ones, they are creating this seminars, and they are the ones who are creating this passion, or they are planting the seeds of preserving history, as well as studying more about history and our past. So rather than jailing and blaming them, it is better that government organization should change. Government should change rules and regulations, and government bodies should work with synergy, in partnership with private collectors, so that we can learn from each other. So that's everything in articles, right? In this pages we have only 4 articles today. The other ones are not that important. Now let's go through some latest news items. The first one is about this one. Again, you can see safety, health and safety features. 6 civilians die in a blast after Jammu and Kashmir raid on hideout. So what happened is a raid was conducted by Jammu and Kashmir police, and whilst they were going through this, finally they give this ticket, or this a particular building is declared as sensitized. That means everything is checked. There is nothing that is explosive over there, because when you are raiding some place, you have to go through, it's again SOP. We cannot take it lightly. But still, here you can see that some local people, right, they started entering this building, and they touched a grenade, and this tragedy took place. CBI names its number 2 Rakis Asthana in bribery case. Now this is a matter of concern, because this sort of cases, they give out a very bad as well as wrong signal to in this world of aspirants who are preparing for civil services. When you have this big name involved in bribery, I'm not saying he took a bribe. What I'm saying is this applies to every bureaucrat. They have to be careful that they are not rightly or wrongly. If someone is, of course, adding your name, but now again, you are a powerful person, so it's going to be not that easy for anyone to fix you. But when you are this powerful, and when you are number 2 in CBI, and if your name is in bribery, then There are so many players out there. There are so many youngsters, aspirants as well as probationers and other fresh lot. They will feel bad and they will lose this confidence about staying clean in the system. So seniors, they have to be responsible, and this is something not for the first time we are witnessing, right? Last time we know that it was CBI chief Ranjit Sinha or Ranjit Singh, I think. He was with this whole scam, and finally Supreme Court was not happy with his investigation and things like that. So it's about this oil, not oil, I think 2G scam he was in. 2G scam or coal case, either one of them. But he was involved. He was, providing crucial information about investigation and other things to affected or these parties who were involved in this case. So that's it. Assam acts over security lapse during CGI's visit. Shimla can get a new name. It may be renamed as Shamla. So we have this sort of trend going on of changing names altogether. And then we have Sushma didn't consult PMO on engaging with Pakistan. So it was, remember before this UN's General Assembly, there was a news that both the foreign ministers are going to interact with each other. Then there was a news that no, now it is cancelled. So finally it was cancelled. So first Ministry of External Affairs said yes, they are going to engage with it. Then they had a chat with PM, and the PM said, PMO, not PM, but PMO, that is Prime Minister's Office, and the Prime Minister's Office said no about, said a red signal for this meeting. Then you have this tiger attack. Still, it's not sure whether this particular tiger has attacked a lady or a man who's died here. But the thing is, it's not tigers, right? It is us. We are stepping into their territories, and they are wild animals. That's how they behave. So rather than blaming on them, it is better to blame ourselves. India up to any challenge has been said by Prime Minister. It was about this commemoration of Neta Subhash Chandra Bose, Indian National Army, and Subhash Chandra Bose ji is a very important topic, right? He is a very important man for our country. But at the same time, he's very important topic for your competitive exam. So make sure you go through all important details about Netaji. And that's everything. Now moving on to two international news items. Maldives judiciary upholds poll result. And US is going to pull out of this Russia missile pact, that is intermediate range nuclear forces. So the big question is that are we heading towards Cold War latest version? If we are, then this is going to be very bad for the whole world. Vocabs you have: aftermath, carnage, incongruous, ember, and hue. And go through this picture, right? Observe these two gentlemen. Can you give me the name of their countries, some other details about their countries, and what they are doing, right? They are writing something, or they are signing or a document or something. What it is all about? This is the question or research topic of the day for you guys. And that's everything in today's discussion. Please make sure you share this lecture with other students. God bless you all. Jai Hind.